Morning. First of all, I want to apologize for my first video. We're in the process of, packing up the classroom for the summer. I had taken everything off the walls and I was in a corner and I noticed that it almost looked like I was in a prison talking to you. And I'm good. It was just, if you know teachers, when we strip our classroom, it just looks very, very bare. So I know it looked weird. Um, so I'm in the classroom again, but you can see it's a little bit of something in the background, so it doesn't look quite as bad as the first one. Um, so I want to talk to you a little bit about the next phase in this journey where I had a meeting with the doctor and they had scheduled a CT scan with and without contrast. Um, And I want to talk to you about some of the results that the doctor had given me. Um, so they did 3 separate biopsies. I talked about that in the last one and how much that hurt, right? And all 3 contain invasive ductal carcinoma grade 2. So let me explain to you what that is. I have some notes on both sides where I'm not missing anything. So invasive means that the cancer has spread beyond where it started and is growing into surrounding breast tissue, and it can potentially spread to other parts of the body. Ductal means that it began in the milk ducts of the breast, and carcinoma is the cancer that starts in cells that line organs or tissues, in this case, the breast tissue. So, in a nutshell, it's a cancer that starts in the breast milk ducts and has spread into nearby tissue. And because I have 3 of them that are relatively close together, all in a line, the doctor has said that probably not a candidate for a lumpectomy, because when they do that, they have to go in and get the cancer, but they also have to get the surrounding healthy tissue to make sure that they get everything. And so because of that, my breasts would be completely deformed where they are. So the recommendation is a mastectomy. We'll talk a little bit further about that. So we have I told you that the first one was 2.1 centimeters. That's the one that I found, that I discovered. And the other one was a 5 millimeter. But during the course of the ultrasound, they did find a third one, and that measures at 6 millimeters. So, 3 of them in a line. One is on the low side of medium. The other ones are small. So that's a good thing. Now, 2 of them show what is called macropapillary features. And so, I had to ask, what is macropapillary features? And basically what that is, it is a growth pattern seen under the microscope. Cancers with micropapillary features can be more likely to involve lymph nodes than just the regular invasive ductal carcinoma. So it doesn't automatically mean that it's spread, but it has the features of it. So that's why they've done more and more tests, and they just continue testing. All 3 are a grade 2. Now, not stage 2, but grade 2. So here's what the difference is. A grade is listed from 1 to 3. Grade 1 is slower growing, and it looks more like normal breast tissue. Grade 3 is faster growing and a more abnormal appearance. And grade 2 is in the middle. It's an intermediate. So mine is neither slow growing nor fast growing. It's somewhere in between. So it's a middle grade tumor. And actually, a grade 2 is one of the more common grades. seen in breast cancer. What it was encouraging is it said that the report reported that there is no significant increase in mitotic activity. I think I'm saying that right. This means that the cancer cells are not dividing rapidly in the tissue that they examined. So we are still waiting on the hormone receptors, which would be estrogen or progesterone, the HER2, and the Ki-67. That's a measure of how actively they're growing. What did I do with my notes? But basically, the HER2 is a protein. I'm sorry, I thought I had all my notes together here where I could explain it all to you. I thought I had them ready. So the HER protein is on the surface of the cells, and it controls the cell growth and division. So we are looking at if it's a positive, if the HER2 is positive, they tend to grow faster, but it has very targeted treatments. And if it's negative, they do a more standard treatment path using hormones. Hormone receptors, the estrogen or the progesterone, if it's, we're looking for it to be positive because that's good for treatment options. If it's negative, they usually don't respond to hormone treatments. May not require chemotherapy. We just are waiting to see for that one. So if I'm putting this all together, well, first of all, we're still waiting on the results from the hormone receptors, the HER2, the Ki-67. We want to know if the hormone receptors are positive or negative. That will also determine, how to treat this. If it will respond to hormone therapy, if we have to do chemo, if surgery will be fine. Is the HER2 positive or negative? What is the Ki-67 percentage? And when they did the CT scan, they did find an abnormal or an enlarged lymph node that was in the well behind the breast muscle right next to the rib cage. It did not show up on the mammogram or the ultrasounds. It only showed up on the CT scan. So they did a biopsy of that one, and it was a fine needle biopsy because it is so close to my rib cage and my lungs, and the doctor did not want to puncture my lungs. But let me just tell you that the biopsy, they had to go under my arm, and it was so deep in, and the numbing that they used for that one really hurt. Like, I thought I was going to throw up. Interestingly enough, like when they did the numbing in the breast, it hurt, but afterwards I was in pain. On this one, the biopsy or the numbing for the biopsy hurt a lot worse. I guess because they had to go in deeper, or maybe it's because they had to go under my arm, which is thin. I don't know. But after it was over, it didn't hurt quite as bad. So we're waiting to see what the results from the lymph node shows. And so the answers to all of these will determine whether or not I have to have chemo. If the anti-hormone or the hormone therapy could be recommended, whether or not I need to have HER2 drugs. And so they have gone ahead and scheduled surgery for June 9th to do a mastectomy. The hope is that they can just take the breast and I will not have to have chemotherapy or radiation, that it will take care of all of it. There is a chance when these come back that I will have to do some kind of radiation or chemotherapy to shrink the tumors, at which case I might be a candidate for a lumpectomy. We're just waiting to see. The good news is on the CT scan, nothing showed up in the brain. I mean, I have a brain, but nothing adverse, no tumor cancer showed up in the brain. My chest, my other breast is perfectly fine, perfectly healthy. Nothing showed up in my abdomen or the pelvic area. So everything is just contained to the left breast. So that's positive. That's a good thing. But when you put it all together, the cancer is invasive, and there are multiple areas, 3 areas that contain the cancer. We're waiting for the lymph node. Some of them show the macropapillary features and not a high rate of cell division, and it is a grade 2. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what we know right now of this cancer. So from a spiritual side, people often will say, why do good things happen, or why do bad things happen to good people, right? But I want to tell you that no one is good. Nobody is good. We all try to do the right thing. And we say, well, I'm a good person, but we all fall short. In Ecclesiastes 7:20, Solomon wrote, surely there is not a righteous man on earth who does good and never sins. And Paul reemphasizes this in Romans 3:10 when he wrote, none is righteous, no, not one. We use good, and that's okay, because everybody says, I'm good. I try to do good things, and I'm a good person. And the thing is, when we say that, we are comparing ourselves to other people in this world, right? That's what we do. We always compare ourselves. Well, I'm not as bad as that person, or maybe I'm not as good as that one. Good. So that's what I want to try to be. But what we should be doing when we use these terms is comparing ourselves to God's standards and His righteousness. So instead of saying, why do good things happen, or why do bad things happen to good people, we should be asking, why are good things happening to bad people? And I know that's hard to hear. I get it. Because we don't want to view ourselves as bad. But when we compare ourselves to a holy, righteous God, we don't even come short. I mean, we cannot even comprehend the righteousness and the goodness of God. There's nothing in us whatsoever that is even close to being at His standard. And if we truly look within ourselves and within our hearts, we would see that our hearts are deceptively wicked. Our outward good deeds are nothing but filthy rags compared to God's righteousness. My pastor back home started doing a series on Job about the time that we were leaving to move to North Carolina. And it's funny that those messages I always took to heart in lieu of the change that we had. We left our home in Tennessee to move to North Carolina, being closer to Wade's family and various reasons. But we left the home that I grew up in. I mean, I built a house on the property that I grew up in next door to my mother. Very, very close family and friends. The girls were involved in things, and I had a great job working with great people. And I felt comfortable making this move. I wasn't afraid of making the move. I didn't kind of look weird here. I didn't move begrudgingly, in other words. We just felt in our heart this is where God wanted us to be, and so here's where we are. But there were some things that happened, those moving pains and things not quite being what we thought. And these lessons from Job really just spoke to me. Not that I was suffering or anything, but just the mental side of it But now it's really coming in clear to me. And I feel like all those lessons that Derek has taught, I've just really, it's just coming right back while I'm going through this suffering. So I'm going to give you a little synopsis of this. Basically, there's a meeting in heaven, and some people say that Satan approached God, but that's not true. When you go into it, God approaches Satan, and he's basically like, what do you think about my boy Job? You know, the enemy is looking to devour. He is looking to kill, steal, and destroy our joy. He is always going before the Father saying, well, you know, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did this. It's just constant. And so God's like, all right, what do you think about my boy Job? And of course, you know, Satan argues that, well, you know, you've got your hand on him. I can't touch him. You take your hand of protection off of him, he will curse you. He will not be faithful to you. And so God allows Job, okay, do what you will, but you cannot kill him. He did allow Satan to attack him physically, temporarily. In a day, Job loses his wealth, his children, and even his physical comfort in just a series of catastrophes. One day. He didn't lose his wife, but he lost his children, his wealth, his physical health. His friends sit with him in silence during his mourning. And after the typical mourning of 7 days, they began accusing him, saying he must have sinned to deserve this much pain. They had that retribution theology. If you do something bad, then bad things will happen. You do something good, good things will happen. That was just the mindset of the people back then. And so his friends were saying, well, you must have done something. You must have done sin somewhere for God, the retribution God, to take all of these things away from you. And Job responds, he's like, I get it, but I don't know what I did. He's claiming his innocence, and he's also begins questioning God's justice. God finally intervenes, you know, when Job is questioning, you know, I just wish I was never even born. But, you know, I want to make a point that Job never cursed God. He never blamed God. He was trying to figure out where his responsibility lied in all of this. And of course, you know, you start off, okay, I'm just going to praise him. I'm just going to get through this. But then the more things happen, you start to go, God, why? Why? Please reveal to me what I have done so that I can make it right. And, you know, God is like, where were you when I formed the foundations of this world? I mean, God took nothing and created everything. He created everything from nothing. And we dare to question his justice, his mercy, his actions. With God, he is humbled. Job is humbled and restored. He even intervened for his friends who kept accusing him. He receives twice as much as he lost, and he went on to live a long, full life, 140 years to be exact. So it is important to remember that Job didn't know anything about God's contesting with Satan. He didn't understand that what was happening in heaven. He didn't understand the thing between God and Satan. And often we wonder why God allows, and we question God's goodness without even seeing the full picture. We can't see all things. The book of Job teaches us to trust God in all circumstances. We must trust Him not only when we don't understand, but because we don't understand. We don't understand God's power and His plans. He created this world. We're just finite creatures, and He is infinite. He is an infinite God, and His ways are higher than our ways. His knowledge is higher than our knowledge. His wisdom is higher than our wisdom. So we have to trust Him, not just when we don't understand, but because we don't understand. We have no choice but to trust in Him. I really encourage you to go back into Unity Baptist Church YouTube channel. Just look up Unity Baptist Church in National City, and I will try to post a link to the church website, to the YouTube channel for you to just subscribe to. And I encourage you to listen to the messages on Job that he does on Wednesday nights. All of us are either have been in a season of suffering, are in a season of suffering, or will be in a season of suffering. And these lessons from God through Job will help you through these trying times. And above all, remember that we see more from our knees than we do when we're standing on top of the mountain. I wish you all love and peace and that firm foundation in God and His ways. Let's pray. Blessed Father, I just thank you so much for allowing me to be able to give you honor and praise. And Lord, there are things that I don't understand. I don't understand why some of the things are happening, but I trust you, Father. I trust your ways. I align myself with your will. I ask that you will use me as an instrument to spread your word and your love and your goodness to all who are listening. Through this, people are drawn closer to you. Lord, I pray that you will, again, be with the doctors as they are looking through all the biopsies, and I pray that whatever path is chosen will give me a peace and a comfort, and know that you are in control of all things. And it is in your Son, most high and heavenly name, that I pray these things. Amen.